What's up and good morning, War Report family. It's your guy, Ike Jones. We are back with another morning drop. Today, we are going to talk about a not so great topic, but it needs to be discussed, the struggling Auburn offense. Y'all know how we do right here, War Report style. Let's drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report.
Morning drop. We are here. It is Monday, October 23rd. Your boy Ike Jones is joined by my guy B Will, and we are talking a little Auburn football. Even though I know B Will, it's officially basketball season for you.
It's basketball season, bro. But I'm still here. I'm still here to talk with my boy about the football on the show. That's what I enjoy doing the most. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We here.
I appreciate you still showing up for duty, even though you have moved on mentally to the next season. It's all good, man. But what we want you guys to do who have not moved on and you're still here with the War Report is to share the video at the War Report on all social media. We definitely appreciate you helping to spread the word about what we've got going on. If people haven't heard about us, then maybe they want to come check us out. If they have heard about us, maybe they want to come back and see what we're talking about this morning. Please like the video if you're watching this live, or if you're rewatching it later. We appreciate those thumbs up on the video and that interaction. Give us your comments down in the comment section and let us know how you feel about it. And if you're listening on podcast, please do give us that 5-star review and share that podcast with somebody so they can get in on the conversation. But today we have the dubious duty of talking about an offense that has not performed, I think, to the standard that Auburn fans had hoped coming into the season it would perform. And, you know, the numbers they're not pretty, B. They're just not.
Yeah.
They're not a beautiful thing to behold. LSU fans got their collective Bayou Bengal striped panties in a wad when I did this about their defense and read off statistics. They probably won't even watch this episode to see that we just talked numbers on Monday. It is what it is. And the reason why I think talking about offense is so important this Monday is we're going into a stretch now where Auburn is really in must-win scenarios. I believe that we're in must-win scenarios.
We are.
We're in a place where if you want to go to a bowl game, you can't drop these next few games, right? Like Mississippi State's not at home is not a game that you can drop if you want to go to a bowl game. Arkansas and Vanderbilt on the road, in my opinion, are not games you want to drop if you want to get to a bowl game. And you definitely can't lose to New Mexico State.
Right.
All I'm saying is you don't want your bowl hopes to be on an Iron Bowl victory against a team in Alabama that has played better than Auburn consistently throughout the season.
Yeah.
Even though it's the Iron Bowl and anything can happen, that's not where you want to put your hopes, right? So these next 4 games, this next 4-game stretch is going to be important. And I think a large portion of that, despite the struggles from the offenses on the other side of the football that we're going to be facing, is going to rest in our ability to actually move the ball, control the time. Now, I'm not talking about how many points we score, but control the clock and keep our defense rested so they can go and be their best selves and not have to play rescue all the time, right?
Right. Okay.
So let's get into the numbers. And I would recommend, if you have a weak stomach, that you just brace yourself for these numbers as I read off, not necessarily the pure numbers, but where Auburn ranks in all of college football in the FBS. I'll start with the one that's the most palpable.
Okay.
And this includes all games. It's not just in our Power 5 games, because trust me, these numbers don't look as pretty once we get into the P5 contest. But rushing offense for Auburn is the one that is performing the best.
Okay.
Currently 4th in the SEC, 4th in the conference in this, but 29th in the country in rush offense, in the top 30 in the country in our ability to run the ball, which is, we'll get back into that for sure. However, when we get to that other side of being able to pass the ball, Auburn is currently ranked 121 in the country. Now, there's about 130, 132, something like that, FBS teams in
Yeah,
all
yeah,
of college football.
yeah.
Auburn is ranked 121. So, again, I'm giving you numbers. This isn't just in the P5 contests, this includes our cupcake games. 121.
Wait, okay. So hold on. That also includes Air Force, Navy, and Army.
Yeah.
Okay.
hmm
So we're only
14th.
better than like six
We're
teams.
about nine to depend on what you count, like the 9 to 12 teams, including the independents and all that. 9 to 12 teams are worse than us
Okay.
in the country. Um, that's good for dead last in the conference. Dead last.
Okay.
And it is the worst stat of the one. So I went from the best stat that we had as far as our rankings to the worst.
Yeah.
First downs, ability to get first downs. Auburn currently ranked 114th in the country. 114th. That's good for 13th in the SEC. You want to take a guess who's number 14 in the SEC and be an ability to get first downs?
Vanderbilt's actually moving the ball, so it's got to be Mississippi State.
You are correct. Mississippi State ranked 118th
Yeah.
in the country, dead last in the SEC.
Okay.
Next up, third down conversions. Auburn also ranked 114th in the country, dead last in the SEC at number 14 in the conference. Mississippi State, by the way, ranked 13th in the SEC, 112th in the nation. So very on par with Auburn in that percentage. When we talk about passing efficiency, Auburn is ranked 102 in the country.
Okay.
Good for 14th in the conference.
Okay.
When we talk about, I'm trying to go in ascending order in our rankings here. When we talk about completion percentage, Auburn is ranked 81st in the country. That's good for 13th in the conference. Mississippi State is not number 14, by the way. I think that distinction goes to Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken, but I have to go back and look at that. Completion percentage, a paltry 59.4% for Auburn this season. That's good for 81st in the nation.
Okay.
Total offense. Auburn is currently ranked number 78 in the country. That's good for 12th in the conference. I didn't look up who was 13th and 14th in the conference. At that point in time, I just kind of got tired of looking at really bad stats.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? It's bad. It's just not good. And then the next one here is red zone efficiency. If Auburn gets to the red zone, we're competing and completing a score 83% of the time. That's still only good for 73rd in the country and 10th in the SEC, though. Not good. Not good numbers to look at. However, as I stated, we have a stretch here against the teams that are really the other guys that are terrible at this stuff offensively in our conference. Mississippi State, Arkansas, Vanderbilt. If there's any silver lining in all of this, is that we're facing offenses unlike the last three SEC opponents that we had, or the first three SEC opponents that we had, that should be just as bad at their ability to move the football.
Yes.
And I believe we have a better defense. So I go back to a statement I made at the end of the show yesterday, and I reaffirmed on Twitter. I believe that Auburn can win 4 of their last 5 games, even sitting here looking in the face of these abysmal, and abysmal I think is an appropriate word, offensive numbers and rankings for Auburn thus far this season.
Yeah.
Now, I know that I have just dumped a large cloud of rain on anybody's enthusiasm, and we're going to make it worse before we make it better, because I
Oh
did
Lord.
ask for you to take a look at the numbers and where they were just in Power 5 contests and what Auburn is averaging, and B, what did we come up with in our ability to score the football?
Auburn is averaging 16.6 points per game in Power 5 competition.
16.6.
Yes.
What do you know what we're averaging just in general points per game?
Oh, I didn't get in general. I got SEC separately.
I didn't write it down myself either, and I'll give you time to look it up while I talk about the 16.6 points per game that we've gotten. That's the disappointing thing, I think, for me, because though I said, hey, we're facing other really bad offenses, we've also faced some of the worst defenses already.
Right.
And our inability at home, we've been better. Right, we scored 21 points in this game versus Ole Miss, albeit the last one being garbage time. We scored 20 points against Georgia. I don't want to talk about the LSU game. And I definitely don't want to talk about Texas A&M. But we've struggled. No doubt that we've struggled to be able to put points on the board. And that, I think, is going to be the challenge for this team. Is figuring out how do we score points, man. Like, even though the other offenses are bad, here's what I don't want to see, B.
Okay.
I don't want to see a 7-3 game like we just watched with Arkansas versus Mississippi. I don't want to see that, man.
Yeah.
Listen, of course I want to see Auburn coming out on the victorious side, but I don't want to see us win a game 7-3 Saturday.
I mean, at this point, can we even be choosy?
We can't be choosy. I'm telling you, I'm gonna take the dub however it comes. But I'm telling you, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see. I'm going to come here and I'm going to, talk about how great our defense was and our ability to shut them down. And we only gave up But I don't want to see that, man.
Yeah, I almost broke my finger trying to look up, see what the under was for the Mississippi State Auburn game, because I'm betting it. Whatever it is, whenever it drops, whenever that game comes up on my sports book, I'm betting it under. To your point, we played at least one of the worst defenses, two of the worst defenses on our schedule. Vanderbilt's a bad defense as well. We had three really bad defenses we were going to face. We played two of them. We scored 18 and 21 points respectively. That was our chance to have a breakout game. Those were our chances. Now, they're also paired with some good offenses, which made it hard for us to win those games where you can't score points. What we're about to start is competition against teams who cannot score but also can defend, and that's going to make for some spicy competition. When you can count on your defense to show up to be competitive, it's always a great thing. But the problem with bad offense is that you can count for that offense to do something. Well, to this point, we are not giving up the ball on offense much, at least not in the way that it actually matters so much. Turnovers aren't deciding the game. They're kind of icing the game for us, but turnovers aren't deciding our game so far in SEC competition. It's just been ineptitude on offense. But as we start this next stretch, well, really Mississippi State and Arkansas, we're looking at one turnover being able to decide the game now, because they're not going to be up on us by 2 scores. I don't believe that'll be the case. We will now be in the thick of a game where we are tied, and if we turn the ball over, it could be the catastrophic. Losing to the next, any one of the next 4 teams we play would be an embarrassment.
Yeah, so let's say, let me say this: Arkansas on the road is a tough matchup. Vanderbilt is going to be a tough matchup on the road, and I am choking back vomit as I say those words, but it's the reality of where we are in our season right now. Vanderbilt's been feisty forever, though. Like Vanderbilt, though they don't win a lot of games, they're always a hard out, and they're a difficult team to beat, especially in their building. And Auburn has historically actually just not done great against Vanderbilt. Like it's been bad results for Auburn versus Vanderbilt, particularly when traveling to Nashville. So that was always going to be a tough challenge. Just for some reason, the Commodores give the Tigers a tough time. And And Arkansas has been a feisty team this season as well. They have
Right.
been, despite RIP to Dan Enos as the offensive coordinator over there with Arkansas, despite their struggles on offense in this previous game, they've been a team that, we talked about this Saturday when I was down there. In the middle 8 of games, right, the last 4 minutes of the half and the first 4 minutes of the next half, Arkansas has been done well.
Right.
But for some reason, they just haven't been able to get victories, right? Because their offense sputters outside of that period, right? Like if you don't let Arkansas back in the game, then they're not going to come back themselves. And teams have been letting Arkansas back into the game. Inexplicably, Lane Kiffin going for it on 4th down when they had the momentum. Inexplicably, Bama decided they were going to go away from the run in a game where they were absolutely pummeling Arkansas on the run. Like, it's just silly stuff, right?
Right.
However, I think it's going to be a tough game for Auburn, despite all the struggles they've had, because Arkansas has played admirably defensively.
Right.
Shout out to T. Will.
Shout out to Will.
Despite all that, next game is Mississippi State. Mississippi State, and if we're being honest, guys, has not been good on either side of the football. They've been pedestrian on both sides of the football. That's what gives me hope at home that Auburn is going to go ahead and get the victory here. But and you had a chance to look this up. Total offense for the season, Auburn is scoring how many points per game?
26.7.
26.7. Now, but that number drops in the Power 5, you said, to 16.6. So 10 points less versus quality competition. But the other thing that I want to point out is Auburn at home is scoring more than their 16-point average versus P5 competition.
Right.
That's why I feel like Auburn gets the dub this weekend. Is Auburn is going to be able to score 3 touchdowns against this Mississippi State team, and I don't think Mississippi State's going to be able to do the same.
Okay. Now that's fair. It's really sad that we are sitting here actually assessing our chances against bottom feeder teams in the SEC. Like, we used to at least be like, hey,
the reality of where we are. But yeah, continue.
It is. We used to be able to like, all right, well, we're gonna beat Arkansas, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Ole Miss was in there as well. I mean, they've taken a step up since Lane got there, but they're still not a team we shouldn't be beating. So we are here in a place that I did not think we would be.
Yeah.
And we have to we have to be for real with ourselves about where we are and who we are right now. And that is, when we used to watch teams and be like, oh man, they're terrible, we don't have to worry about that. Well, now we have to worry about every game. No game is beyond losing. We can lose any game that we step out on that field because we have been that terrible on offense. You need points to win. We can't count on them. So everything's going to be a struggle. That's where we are.
Yeah.
Mississippi State, they are equally as uninspiring, I will say. And now that they've got Mike Wright, who I don't know if he's going to be.
Yeah, I have no idea whether or not they're going to have the starter back in there, if Mike Wright is going to continue. But they have turned into an offense that is not really willing to throw the ball and really not able to. I mean, let's not pretend as if Will Rogers has been amazing this season.
He hasn't been.
But he still is a more capable thrower than Mike Wright is. No disrespect to Mike Wright. I think he's an amazing athlete. He just has not been a great thrower. So Auburn really needs to be more disciplined than they were in their rush defense in this last game to make sure that he's not running like crazy.
Yeah.
But his ability to throw the ball doesn't scare most defenses, and I definitely don't think that it scares this Auburn defense that has been fairly stingy against the pass this season. But again, the numbers are what they are, man. Like, you can be upset at the numbers or upset at me for reading them off, but I didn't do anything but read it. The stats are what they, and I think the thing that I think is best when you talk contextually about stuff, and I think sometimes people lose context, is not just how much we're scoring or, how many rush yards we're putting up, It's where does that compare to what other offenses are doing around the country, right?
Right.
And it feels bad looking at it. It looks worse looking at the rankings. It just
Right.
does.
Yeah.
And we've got to figure out a way to turn the trajectory of this offense and get some momentum going as we get into the back half of this season. Again, I think the easier portion of our schedule is ahead of us,
Right.
but we haven't really done anything in terms of momentum to get us moving in the direction I think that we need to be to give us confidence going forward, and that is disappointing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Uh,
But the schedule thing is a real thing, though. I was looking at the schedule and thinking, now, if we had split these opponents from the next 4 that we're going to play, and we had split them with the first 4 SEC opponents we played, so it was Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Georgia, Arkansas, who did we just LSU, and then Vanderbilt, we might be feeling a little different. I don't think we would have the realization that we just really, really suck. I think they probably would have been able to do some things earlier, score a few points, so that the fan base feels better. The players probably have more confidence at this point in the season. But I also think that there's a bit of, I want to say, a cathartic feeling. We don't have to go through this, well, will we, won't we, for the last month of the season. We know we are bad on offense.
right.
We can be bad and win the next games we have, but if we had gone up, down, up, down, up, down, there would have been this hope that, oh, well, maybe we just played down this game. No, we're just bad
Right.
on offense, so we're going to look bad against good defensive teams. Maybe this will be the salve that they need to focus a little bit, because, and this is something I think happens with when a team plays against teams that it knows is bad. In football, I very often see the opposite effect of what kind of, in basketball, people overlook teams, right? Like, we don't really take them seriously. I don't think that happens as much as in football when you are bad, because okay, we're not as good as we hope we were going to be, but we have got to get this win and this win, because if we don't beat these teams, now we're an embarrassment. We're not going to beat a Bama the way they're playing with us playing the way we're playing. So we have got to get these wins right here. I do think, to your point, you said if you looked at the presser and you heard the players talk, it didn't feel like the team had been lost.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like the team had given up. I think they know that they have a chance to make a bowl game run here, get to 7 wins. I think that's possible. And maybe that you end up feeling a little different on the season if you can go 4-1 down the stretch instead of looking as bad as we've looked so far.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they are smart, which I know that they are, they will be looking at this as a fresh start for them. And maybe they need a fresh start in their ability to cook up some meals for themselves. So they're going to get to HelloFresh like we have done here at the War Report. Today's episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. A crazy schedule can make it easy to fall back into your dinner time recipe rut. Keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every week, so there's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. We all know that HelloFresh takes the hassle out of mealtime, but did you know that it can also save you money? HelloFresh is 25% less expensive than takeout, so that means you can get an easy home-cooked meal on the table and more money back in your pocket. Go to HelloFresh.com/50report and use code 50report for 50% off and free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50report and use code 50report for 50% off and free shipping. America's #1 meal kit is HelloFresh, and it is a place that we actually use ourselves. I say we, I use it a little bit. B Will is the real one that's out here with the HelloFresh. Him and his wife.
Yeah, man.
Like every time I go to their crib, I see the HelloFresh boxes out there out front. So they're really out here doing it, baby.
Yeah, man, it's valuable. You don't have to go to the store. Got 2 kids, man. We just, what we gonna eat for dinner? Well, we got 3 meals in here in the fridge. Let's just cook one up. It's fantastic to have that. You don't have to think about it. We are a HelloFresh family for sure.
Indeed. All right, so we're going to get some fresh comments in here from those of you who are in the comments section. We appreciate you guys sticking with us and having a little conversation. Let's start it off with Miller Howes, who says that, freeze warning, we're cleaning house in the off season. Let me hip you to something, Miller. I don't think we're going to have a choice but to clean house in the offseason, because I don't know how many people are going to stay around if we don't get this together this second half of this season.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of changes are going to be made because we're going to lose a lot of seniors off
Mhm.
both the offensive line. There's some wide receivers who transferred in. A lot of the transfers who came in here are probably going to be out because
Mhm.
they didn't have any more eligibility. But on top of that, there are some guys who came in here to play who haven't panned out, and I can't imagine them staying around to get jumped on the depth chart after Freeze hopefully does some very good recruiting, since he's not pleased with the talent level in the room, according to him. It's going to be a lot of turnover. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's going to be like 42 new bodies like it was this
So,
past offseason. So,
here's the thing that and I was gonna save this to talk about it on Wednesday, but let's just talk about it now.
all right.
I wonder now if the approach and shouldn't have been for them to just come in and clean house this year, so that they seemed what it seemed as if the strategy was is they were going to go the band-aid approach, right? They
Mhm.
went and got a bunch of guys who didn't have a bunch of eligibility left, that they were going to be 1-year rentals. They were coming and they were going to throw it all into this season to try to make sure that we could still win games, right?
Mhm.
But then when you look at what we did as far as how we deployed those assets, it doesn't appear as if that's what happened, right? And so now I wonder if they should have just ripped the band-aid last year and went and got guys that had 2 and 3 years of eligibility in the portal, or maybe they didn't feel like they had enough time to accurately go out and assess who could come and all this kind. I don't know, but I feel like maybe they should have just scrapped this season from the beginning and let guys know, hey, we're going to go through a true rebuild this year. I don't feel like we got sold a true rebuild. I think we got sold, hey, we're going to come in here and we're going to try to do a bunch of stuff this year, and it just hasn't panned out that way. And maybe we've set ourselves a year back in our ability. Like, I feel like next year is going to be the true year one under Coach Hugh Freeze, based upon how we've approached this season.
Well, I, so I don't disagree with you, but I think really we have to. I have to pin the error in evaluation on Hugh Freeze. He seemed like he was in a rush with the
Mhm.
guys he brought in the period he brought them in. You can't do much in the first period. Was he even hired before the first transfer portal was open?
Yes.
He was hired before the first portal was open or
Oh,
before it was
open.
closed.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
Okay. And
I don't think so.
the reason I ask is because guys start having those conversations and making those calls and planning those trips once probably before it opens, if we
Right.
being for real with ourselves. His hands were tied because he was going to be behind as soon as he got that job, and a lot of those names were starting to settle in.
Right.
The talent he needed was probably already coming off the board at that point in time. Understood why that didn't happen. The one he probably needed, and I think he was a higher priority, was the guy from Coastal Carolina, McCall.
Mhm.
You can't do anything about that. But what we've seen since then is that, as you noted, when Hugh Freeze first got here, based on some of the changes he was making, he has a type. His type has not worked out. That does not
And
mean
the better end of his type wasn't available once he got to this point where he could go in and actually make those,
right.
changes.
So, but if you stick with the type, though, then that means you're tied to whatever is available in your pool, right?
Mhm.
I mean, if you were saying dating and not dating, and Ike was like, "Man, I really like a girl built like this." Yeah, okay, but your subset of girls that you like, that's smaller than the general girl. So why don't you get a girl that checks more boxes? You know what I'm saying? What's that? The rule of 80-20?
Mhm.
All right, so if 20% is the thing that he didn't have, but there were some really good wide receivers out there that could understand the concepts quickly, had run the offense that he wanted to run, wouldn't that have been a better pickup than some 6'3" guys, 6'4" guys that couldn't execute? So what we've got is a Martner, a shorter, and a Hooks. None of them have been productive.
Right.
Now,
And
but they're
by what we've told, they're not able to execute the concepts they've been asked to do. Right.
right, because he repeats that
Right.
repeatedly.
Mhm.
So, but you didn't have to go get 6'3", 6'4" dudes, 6'6" dudes. You could have just gotten guys who, from the group of five level, I've seen them run the exact offense I want to run.
Right.
I think their
They
experience
don't
may be
fit the
great at it.
physical profile, but they
Right.
understand the concepts, and we can go faster with our adaptation of this offense because they know what they're doing.
That was a coaching choice. That
Yeah.
was poor evaluation. He went for the top, but oh man, but she bad though. Yeah, man, but she gonna steal your credit card. Is that what you want? Is it is that those the type of relationships you want to be in? No. Get the 80 that you know you need
Yeah.
And then because he got here and we were 4 games to the season, he was like, man, well, 5 and 6 are our best wide receivers. Oh, and they're not 6'3"? Funny how that works. Funny how those wide receiver skills don't only come in those big packages. He made these decisions. I don't think he had many choices when it came to quarterback. I'm trying to give him some reprieve on quarterback. But to his point, he said, well, everybody's sending me tweets every time somebody jumps in the portal like, you guys, we got guys that we want to get, and we're not just gonna get somebody just because they're available. We're gonna go after the person that we think works best. That means he actually had to look at Peyton Thorne's tape and say, I want that guy.
Yeah.
That was a miss. Like you could have gotten nobody in the portal at quarterback. It could have been Robbie Ashford, Holden Gurner, Hank Brown, and I don't think we'd be worse right now. I do not think we'd be worse. Our record would not be worse if you had gotten no transfer quarterback and just played the guys that we had here. Would not be worse. So far, his short-term evaluation, the choices he made in the short term with limited options has not worked out. It has been poor. If we were grading, hey, with offseason, that's not high school recruits, D-, D. I mean, what's his name? Came in on the edge from App State. He's been great. He was injured, though. He has been productive. When it's time to rush the passer, if we're ever in a situation where that makes sense, he's produced. He's gotten pressures. He's gotten sacks. Yes, a couple other guys maybe, but it hasn't looked like the choices he made in the short term for offensive
particularly
personnel.
on offense, right?
Right, for offensive personnel. Yeah.
Defensive personnel, different conversation. And I don't know how involved he was in those conversations and choices, but I do know that, again, if I have to take the coach on his word of what I'm being told, the receivers aren't picking up the concepts. And so, hey, that's a miss.
Right.
That does not, I don't think that speaks to whether or not they're talented. It just speaks to their inability to pick up the concepts they're being asked. Right. But to your point, in retrospect, wouldn't you have rather had someone who could pick up the concepts better and maybe on paper wasn't as talented?
Yeah.
That's a choice. And it doesn't seem like it's panned out thus far this season. Hopefully we'll start to see. I don't know how much hope you have in that changing at this point, but we'll see.
And that's the thing, because now you've tried those guys, you played those guys, and it hasn't worked. So now you know that a lot of the time and energy you spent recruiting or transfer portal specifically to hopefully put a Band-Aid, like you said, on this offense, it didn't work. So now you're back. And this is what I think you can fault Hugh Freeze for. You are playing the guys mostly now who were already here, except you didn't focus on them from the spring, fall camp. How much better could the guys have been if you had given them the bulk of the attention, the bulk of the reps, building the offense and the passing routes around these guys who are still, after 6 weeks, they're your best contributors on offense. That is something that we can judge so far. But we got all off of the topic. Yes, there will be turnover. A lot of the short-term misses, the emergency got to get him misses, are on Hugh Freeze on offense. He's got a longer lead in now. He knows what he's looking for.
Right.
Now he has the option to go to high school and get it. He's got a lot of them already on the hook, a couple more possibly that he could get. He's going to be able to improve the talent room of that position. Now, don't get me wrong. You can still miss on high school guys.
Mm-hmm.
You can miss on high school guys. So it's not like, oh, we got 5 4-star plus wide receivers. Yeah, but you don't know what you got until you get them in here. You get them in practice. They've been hearing the standard that Hugh Freeze has for his wide receivers, so hopefully they come in ready for that. It's still not going to be a quick fix. He's going to have to get somebody.
Yeah.
If he's determined to have big wide receivers, he's going to have to get somebody who A, knows exactly what he wants and can execute it right now, and B, fits his size profile in the transfer portal. And I don't think that's coming unless you get a quarterback prospect. Excuse me.
Oh yeah, you got to lock in the quarterback first.
You got to get a quarterback because you don't trust the 2 guys you've been playing so far. That's obvious to any wide receiver who's been watching. So you can't just say, "Hey, come on, it's going to be great." Based on what? But you better get somebody else. I don't trust that. So now you have to. It can't be Walker White, true freshman. Nobody with experience who is good is going to come play for a true freshman expecting to have the best season of their careers. So now you're looking like what? A brand new transfer portal prospect, but there's got to be a first window guy that everybody's going to want to get. Who is that guy? What does he look like? I don't know.
Yeah, we will see. Michael Carlisle says prediction Coach Hugh Freeze takes back play calling this week and for the rest of the season. I think it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he gets asked that question during the presser today as to, hey, play calling duties, where do we sit with that right now? Because again, I've not heard him say this, but I've heard people say that what happened in this previous game is Coach Hugh Freeze was calling plays when Robbie was in the game and Philip Montgomery was calling plays when Peyton Thorne was in the game. If they're splitting play calling duties like that, that to me reeks of dysfunction. And so we just need to take a direction and stick with it. Somebody needs to have the strategy for what we're doing offensively, and somebody needs to be the primary starter. Let's just go with a direction and stick with it. James Barnett says, I say run tempo and see what happens. I think this is something that they likely will try to do now that they're not facing the juggernaut offenses that they've been against. I think they're going to put more trust in their defense's ability to go out there and get stops when the other offense isn't trying to go NASCAR themselves. So we could see more tempo coming up over this last stretch of the season.
Yeah, and that's been weird too, because they said in fall camp, hey, when we went up tempo, we were pretty good. And then when we didn't go up tempo, the defense got the best of us in fall camp. In fall camp, we heard everything that has transpired over the first half of the season. Peyton Thorne wasn't the clear best player in fall camp at quarterback. Offensively, when we went fast, we had an ability we had a real advantage. And then when we didn't go fast on offense, we got handled. Hey, well, look, I've been seeing all these things. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Just be who you are, and then let the chips fall where they may. Prince_Major says we have to throw it deep. I mean, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to do that and the receiver not be double covered. It'd be nice to be able to do that and have enough time. It'd be nice to do that and have like good route combinations that allow the quarterback to have the option to throw it deep and then maybe check it down to somebody if it's not there. All of those things would be nice. And then you got to do it accurately when you do it, right? Of course, all of those things. But it'd be nice. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see completions of 20 yards or more to multiple receivers throughout the course of a single game.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. Chris S. Ain't nobody crying. My wife is just cutting onions for her morning coffee. That's good. Cutting onions for your morning coffee is good. I like it, Chris. Love everything about that one right there. Miller House jumps back in. This season equals test of a fan. Yeah, I mean, so listen, when we first kind of rose in popularity around the Auburn ranks, shout out to our guy Chase H. He, Mike G, and myself did this video about true Auburn fans, and people got upset, of course, because what else do they do when the War Report talks that would get upset? But about this idea that fanship has to be about unwavering loyalty to Auburn, and you can't say anything negative, because if you say anything negative, recruits and players might see it and they're gonna think Auburn doesn't love them, and then they're gonna leave, and that's kind of the genesis of the idea that the War Report is the reason Bo Nix left and all this kind of stuff. Let me be clear. I don't think Bo Nix and his family were fans of the War Report and what we were saying, right? Like I don't make any I don't have any like illusions about that being the thing. But I don't think that they said to themselves, man, you know what? I thought I liked being at Auburn, but the War Report doesn't like me, so I'm out of here. Like, I don't think it's that. But we are, to a degree, a voice of a portion of the fan base. And listen, the only thing I aspire to be is a voice of what I think and feel. Right. If other people agree with me, that's wonderful. If they disagree with me, I'm fine with that.
That's fine too.
But listen, man, but you know what I do? Show up. Yep. I'm going to show up and watch every game that I can. And I'm going to cheer every time they do something good. And I'm going to be upset when they do stuff that's not good. Like, that's kind of how fanship works. Right. You want your team to be great. And when they're not great, you're not happy about it. And I'm vocal about my displeasure with certain things. But I still show up here the very next week and tell you why I think Auburn has an opportunity to win that next game. Because I'm a fan. I can't help it. I can't help but come here and get my hopes up another game and tell you, hey, man, the LSU defense is terrible, man. We got an opportunity to get right versus them, and then we don't do it. And I'm like, man, we suck. Hey, man, but you know what? Ole Miss coming to the crib, man. We got an opportunity to go get a win at home, and Jordan Hare is different when they come to the crib. and then we don't do it. I'm like, ah, man, we suck. And I'm right back here telling you, Mississippi State's awful on offense. I know we're terrible, but we got a good defense. We got an opportunity to get a win. I think we could win 4 of these last 5. That's what we do, man.
Yeah,
It
that's
is
what
what
we
it
do.
is.
We're fans.
And I still think our players are awesome and amazing and fighting hard. And I'm going to support them. I'm going to dap them up when I see them in post games. And I'm going to tell you which of them I think are NFL prospects. And I'm going to tell you how it is, because that's what I do.
Yeah.
And if you jump ship when the team's not playing well, I don't want to hear from you, honestly.
Yeah. Still want these guys. I'm gonna still watch.
Yeah.
I just hate that we have to talk about how
I'm
bad we
I'm gonna be in pain as I watch, but I'm gonna watch.
Yeah.
Michael Carlisle says we called the game plan, lean on the run and shorten the game, get the defense fewer snaps, whatever. But 6 pass attempts in 3.5 quarters. Watch the film.
Thank you, Michael, for pub and watch the film for us. Yeah, that we did call the game plan, but see, part of what's so poor about the game plan is how they ran it so predictably.
Yeah.
Predictable. It was almost as if you took a third of a full offense. If the full offense was different route trees and attacking outside short with the throw and short passes to running backs and dump offs and screens, we don't see that. None of that stuff. They just took the very basic run plays out of the offense and said, hey, that's the stuff we're going to call. Let's go with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's how uncreative the offense has been. Even if they didn't want to pass the ball, again, we saw last season with 10 to 15 attempts per game for Robbie Ashford in those last 4 games, they still found so many ways to move the ball, so many more yards of offense. This is why I can't take it. I don't really think they're being serious about forcefully
until they decide to do a double pass with Holden Gerner, right? Like, and then
why you got to remind me of that?
I mean,
I feel bad for Holden. Like, that upset me. I feel bad for Holden. Hey, man, listen, you said I was the best thrower. I'm in camp slinging it. Oh, but I'm third on the depth chart. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not getting no reps this season. Oh, okay. You finally put me in just to get tackled on a poor play call? Buddy, I mean, number one, if we expect somebody to transfer in the offseason, it's Holden Gerner.
Oh, he's number 1 on the list.
Y'all done played in my face. Y'all done played in this man's face, playing with my eligibility, and you put me out here and playing with my safety because I'm out here with a defender with no protection. They don't respect that man. They don't respect that man.
That was silly. I'm sorry. Whoever called that play, whoever drew that play up. Let's start with whoever drew the play up. Whoever said, let's install this in the playbook. I'm looking at you, buddy, and I'm saying, diagram that for me on the board and tell me why you thought that was going to work. I have questions. Then to have the audacity to actually call it against a Power 5 team. This ain't New Mexico State you call this against. You call that against Ole Miss at the crib. Hey, man. I'm hurt. What we doing, man?
Hurt. Getting embarrassed.
Cameron Carr says, I don't think he makes the kids feel like molded bread. Listening to the kids, they sound like they are still locked in on Freeze. So, yeah. Listen, I agree. I was there in the post-game press conference. Either they are doing a really good job of hiding their true feelings, which I'm sure some of them are. And we only got an opportunity to talk to like 5 or 6 guys, right? So it's not as if those 5 or 6 guys are a majority. But if those 5 or 6 guys can be voices in their respective rooms, then you do have a team that still has some fight left in them. And they're going to go out there and they're going to give whatever they have left to get a W in this game Saturday. And that's encouraging. That's encouraging that they still feel as if they've got good football left to play. And I'm hoping that we see that on Saturday.
Yeah. I'm hoping.
Stephen Riley says, let's go 3 yards in a cloud of dust, baby.
Why not? What we've been doing isn't working.
What we're doing ain't working. Let's figure something else out. So I don't think the answer is doing what you're doing currently better right now. I think you just need to adjust and go in a different direction. Again, unless we're going to do what we're doing with some tempo and try to see if we can utilize that to impact people a little bit better, get them misaligned. But you got to get that first down, right? Before you can go tempo.
Right.
Michael Carlisle again, B Will, the over under is 43.5. Talking about this weekend's game.
Yeah, I'm still gonna bet that. I don't think Mississippi State scores more than 14. They got a decent offense, decent defense. 28-14. I like that. I like that. 28-13, 28-10, something like that. I like that for us. I think we can keep it under 43.5.
Oh, and then Prince Chuku, I did see he said unless we do a double pass play, which yeah. Rick Casanave says, talent order is tight end, running back, offensive line, wide receiver, QB. That isn't tempo, slow developing shotgun, talent. It's play under sitter, play action talent, only slot reads. You're not wrong. You're not wrong but unless you're going to use your tempo as a way to get yourself into your run game, right? Like if you're going to play as a tempo, because that was what Gus Malzahn's entire offense was predicated upon. Tempo in the run game. We were a run-heavy tempo team. That's not something that you see a lot these days, but it absolutely can work. Spread people out, get less guys in the box, and run the ball a bunch with tempo and wear the other team down. Don't allow them to sub. Keep leaning on their defensive line, and eventually they're going to have a mental lapse, and you're going to break one. And you vary that with speed sweeps to keep them going wide, some quick throws to the outside to make sure that you keep them honest on the outside. You can absolutely do that with the talent that you have right here on this roster. You can, especially if your quarterback is a threat to run. Now, that's not me saying Robbie, because listen, Peyton Thorne impressed me with his ability to run the football this past Saturday and his escapability and with his willingness to say, you know what, it's not there. Let me just tuck it and run and get positive yardage. This is all I was saying when we go back to the debate Mike and I had versus Texas A&M. I don't need Peyton Thorne to be Michael Vick. I don't need Peyton Thorne to be Lamar Jackson. I just need him to say, it's not there. Let me go get it with my legs. Oh, the read says pull. Let me go get 2 or 3 yards on this. That's all I need him to do. Keep the defense honest so that the rest of the offense can stay on schedule and the rest of the offense has an ability to see some openings, because you have to respect the fact that Peyton Thorne could run.
Right.
That's all I'm asking. So I'm not asking a lot.
It's there, man. It's there.
Yeah.
There's some stuff there. They're not going to do it, but yeah.
Chris S says that he bet the over on 6.5 wins. Chris, we could still potentially get there, but it's going to be, we are at razor thin margin spot right now.
Buddy, can you, this is all based on beating, at this point, we only beat terrible teams and you can win 7 games. Cal, Samford, UMass, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and New Mexico State. This is the lowest bar to 7 wins that I think Auburn has had in a while. If Hugh Freeze can't do this, man, I don't want to use too many superlatives yet. We got to get to 7 wins.
Yeah,
for pride's sake, we got to get to 7 wins. We got to.
Yeah, and it's still attainable. But listen, when he talks about margin for error within a game, the margin for error to get to 7 wins is as thin as it could possibly be at this point in time. So they've got a lot of work to do, and they can't really have any slip ups. So we will see what happens. Anyway, we are going to get out of here today. We appreciate you all dropping in with us today. Hopefully the offense can go to Rogue Shop and get rid of some of the anxiety that they have. But if you have any anxiety about what you're watching, Rogue Shop's got something there for you that whatever ails you, head to rogueshop.com and use code RAPPORT when you do that. That lets them know that the War Report sent you over there. They've got stuff for sleep aid, stress. Listen, we know how stressful it is to be an Auburn fan. anxiety, pain. We understand that there may be some pain associated with being an Auburn fan as well. Rogue Shop is the place that you need to go. We will be back at you all on the morrow with more thoughts on whatever Coach Hugh Freeze says today on the press conference. So be staying on the lookout for that. Share the video with somebody before you get out of here. Like the video before you get out of here. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening on podcast, please give us those 5-star reviews. Until the next time, and as always, War Eagle.
Peace.